Hello, and welcome to my Wicked Problem Project presentation for CEP 812. This is Mary Weaver, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Red Cedar Elementary School in East Lansing, Michigan, and I'm a student in the Masters of Educational Technology program at Michigan State University. For this project, I was asked to find an educational need that could be solved or improved upon by using technology. As a 4th grade teacher, a majority of my day is focused on literacy, so I thought I would think about how I could use technology to raise my students' motivation to read as well as increase comprehension and fluency. My school services students from 48 different countries speaking 46 different languages. With a large English language learner population, or ELL population, as well as the different reading levels of the general education students, there is a need for students to have access to just right books without classmates knowing what level they are reading. Of course, everyone wants to read Harry Potter in 4th grade because it's cool and everyone else is doing it. However, it's not appropriate to read a book at that level if you aren't able to decode or understand vocabulary at grade level. As a teacher, I encourage students to read at their just right levels because that's how they improve as readers. On the flip side, I totally understand that it could be embarrassing to read a flimsy picture book when your friends have a 3-inch thick novel they are eating up. That's why I've been thinking long and hard for a solution for this problem. I thought if there was a way that students could read books at their just right reading levels, therefore increasing their levels quicker, they could be on the road to reading the books their friends are enjoying at a much faster pace. But in order for them to read at their just right level, they would also need something private. Instead of hiding lower level picture books inside chapter books, like I've seen children do in the past, I thought of a technology tool that could help. I started researching e-readers like the Kindle, iPod Touch, and the iPad. These devices would allow any students to pick any book and read in any chosen format. Since everyone learns differently, it's the teacher's job to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of every child in the classroom. One way to do this is to use e-readers. The text size, spacing, and leading can be adjusted to suit the needs of individuals. Studies have shown that children read better and prefer to read books with larger text sizes. However, as reading levels increase, the size of the font in printed books generally decreases. Some children are intimidated by the text size and will not pick up the book, regardless of its literary merit. Therefore, by allowing children to choose their preferred text size, e-readers will increase motivation, reading fluency, and comprehension in all readers. Since there is already a lot of information out there about the benefits of using e-readers to enlarge font, I wanted to extend that one step further by asking students which device they preferred to read on and why. That way I could make a more informed decision about preference when I apply for a grant in the future. This project was implemented within the last 3 weeks of school. I chose 3 native English-speaking girls who read above grade level. I picked students who were able to use technology efficiently, could read the same book at the same level, and were able to communicate effectively how they felt about using an e-reader and their preferences. The girls used one Kindle, one iPad 2, and one iPhone 4, which could be compared to an iPod Touch. Both the iPad 2 and the iPhone 4 have the Kindle app. By using these 3 different devices with varying screen sizes and capabilities, I asked my students which device they preferred to use for reading. I'm glad I added this part to my project because I actually learned a lot about student preferences. All 3 girls used all 3 devices several times throughout the 3 weeks. By using the e-readers, I am not changing the way I teach. Instead, I'm enhancing the time that students would normally read independently by offering a tool that can make their choices more private. In addition, the book can be individually customized to each child's preferences and be read aloud for those struggling readers or English language learners. The content and pedagogy remain constant while the technology is used to enhance learning. Just as I would have a student read independently with a traditional book, I would do the same with an e-book. However, now I can encourage students to pick books at their just right levels and trust that they will read what is appropriate for the reading levels. Additionally, by having access to the audio feature of the e-book, students can listen to modeled reading. This gives struggling readers and ELL students more opportunity to listen to how the book is supposed to sound. While I will still model reading aloud to my students, the addition of this technological tool will provide more opportunities for students to listen to reading. By using e-readers compared to traditional books, students have access to more learning and organizational resources also. For example, there is a dictionary tool built into the e-reader. When a student comes to a word that is not readily known, he or she can move the cursor to the unknown word for an instant definition and pronunciation key. While I will of course still teach decoding strategies and how to figure out what words mean in context, this tool can help build vocabulary and extend comprehension of the text by allowing students immediate feedback to questions they have as they read. What I found in the end is that all three girls prefer reading on the iPad too. They liked the screen size, how easy it was to turn pages, and they also liked to read white font on a black background. That is a preference that was the most surprising to me. I wouldn't think that they would all choose that layout, but they all said it was their favorite. They also liked that you could highlight the words in yellow instead of everything in black and white like on the Kindle. Though they could do the same thing on the iPhone interface, they were turned off by the small size of the screen. The girls also liked the Kindle, but they found that sometimes when they would turn the pages, 2 pages would turn instead of just 1. Plus, the Kindle doesn't allow you to change to their favorite white on black layout. I asked if they would have liked the Kindle better if they had more time to become familiar with it, and they all said that they think they would. The one thing that the Kindle has over the other two devices is that there is an auditory reading option. I'm not sure why the Kindle app on the iPad and iPhone don't have that awesome capability, but it's definitely a downside, especially since I'd like to use these devices with struggling readers and ELL students. So I still need to think about which device I will like to apply for a grant in the future. This leads me into discussing some of the bumps in the road we have during implementation. The first bump happened when I realized that I forgot to download the ebook I wanted the girls to read onto the Kindle and the iPad before I left from home. We don't have Wi-Fi at my school, so I ended up using a book that was already downloaded on all three devices. It probably wasn't the best choice, so I will definitely remember to do that before I have the kids read on a device in the future. It also brings up the problem I may have if I get a classroom set of iPads, Kindles, or iPad Touches. I will either have to take the devices home or to a place with Wi-Fi, or spend more money to get 3G capabilities. I hope that my school will get Wi-Fi before I have to make this decision, but it's definitely something to think about. Bringing home 3 devices wasn't that big of a deal, but 30 is a totally different situation. Despite some relatively small bumps in the road, I was absolutely delighted by the students' enthusiasm for reading when they were able to use an e-reader. The girls who took part begged me every day for reading time. In fact, 2 of them emailed me at home to make sure that I didn't forget to bring the devices. They were the first ones in my classroom in the morning so that they could double check that they were able to read on the e-readers. There could be many reasons for their enthusiasm, but I was excited that they were excited to read. My project did get implemented as planned. In the future, I would like to apply for a grant for e-readers. I will use the information I gained from this test drive to help decide which device I will write the grant for. However, I'd like to test this out with a few other students with different learning styles, different reading levels, and ELL students. I feel like this research isn't complete because some of the key features I believe could help children read were not used by the girls who tested the devices. For example, struggling readers and ELL students could benefit from using the Kindle because it can read aloud to you. The girls didn't use this feature because it slowed down their reading, but I think that would be an amazing feature for students who need English books read aloud for modeling. More time to do research would have also been fantastic. Overall, it was very interesting to have students use the devices, compare them, and take ownership of telling me what they preferred and why. If nothing else, these girls took pride in their opinions and were excited to help me with this project. It was nice to see them take ownership and feel like they played a key role in my education. Of course, they all want an e-reader now, but I guess that's an issue their parents can tackle this summer. I love to see the kind of enthusiasm I saw for reading during this project.